the old identity quietly pulls them backward. Because the mind seeks consistency between self-concept and behavior. This explains why some people experience temporary breakthroughs but eventually return to old habits. The external action changed briefly. The internal identity did not. An identity always wins long-term. The identity you protect becomes the reality you repeat. Now imagine someone who spent years believing, "I am not capable," even when opportunities appear. The nervous system still filters reality through limitation. So hesitation returns. Self-doubt returns. Avoidance returns. Not because the person lacks potential, but because the internal identity remained untouched. This is why lasting transformation begins internally before external results appear. The internal shift happens first. Then behavior changes. Then decisions change. Then reality begins reorganizing around the new identity. Most people try to reverse this process. They wait for external proof before changing internally. But conscious transformation works in the opposite direction. You become internally first. Then reality begins reflecting it externally. That is why awareness matters so deeply. Because once you observe the false identity, you stop feeding it unconsciously. You stop rehearsing old limitations. Stop reinforcing old labels. Stop worshiping outdated emotional patterns. And slowly, the old self weakens. Not through force, through non-participation. Because identities survive through repetition. When repetition stops, identity begins dissolving. Now here is the psychological twist most people never expect. The ego is terrified of emptiness. It wants labels, definitions, roles, certainty. But real transformation often begins in the uncomfortable space where the old identity is dissolving and the new one has not fully formed yet. That space feels unfamiliar, unstable, exposed. But it is also where freedom begins. Because in that space, you stop reacting automatically from old programming. And for the first time, you begin consciously choosing who you are becoming. That is true power. Not controlling others. Controlling identification. The ability to observe old emotional patterns without becoming them. The ability to feel fear without building identity around fear. The ability to experience pain without worshiping pain. And eventually, the listener realizes something life-changing. They are not trapped by the past itself. They are trapped by continued identification with the past. The real prison is not failure. It is attachment to an outdated version of yourself. And once that realization fully lands, a new question begins emerging naturally. If identity can be reconstructed, then what other limitations were never truly real to begin with? That brings us directly into the next chapter. You have begun separating from the false identity shaped by conditioning and emotional survival. Now it is time to confront the invisible assumptions that quietly define possibility itself. Because the next layer of the matrix is the illusion of limitation. Chapter 4. Detach from the illusion of limitation. One of the most powerful discoveries a person can make is this. Many of the limits controlling their life were never objectively real. They were repeated thoughts, repeated fears, repeated assumptions, repeated emotional conclusions, and eventually, repetition created certainty. This is how invisible limitation forms inside the matrix. Not through absolute truth,